543.
I see my name in shining lights, yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host Shalom Klein has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. In business, we talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. It's a live show, and you can tweet me at Shalom Klein. Let me know your questions, your thoughts. Always appreciate that input. So it's been an interesting week here. I actually, you may not hear it in my voice, but I actually am recovering from a minor throat surgery. So I ask all of our listeners to bear with me as we go through some technical changes in how we're doing the show this week. And a huge thanks to my wonderful producer, George Hoffman, for bearing with me in all of these logistics. But indeed, I am very, very grateful this week. Grateful to a lot of people for helping me out. And I thought it would be a great time to bring on some people that are doing some great work, and hopefully we can share the love and share positivity this week as we're all bitter cold from the worst winter storm in the past 2 years. So my first guests up on the program are Bill and Debbi Middendorp, and they are volunteers for the Salvation Army. I know homelessness is often considered an urban issue, but the number of homeless in suburban communities of Chicago has been on the rise for several years. In northwest suburban Cook County, the homelessness rate has risen by 55% over the past 2 years, including more than 1,850 school students, the easiest homeless population to track, being reported as homeless. So Bill and Debbi Middendorp, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Welcome to Get Down to Business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So you have been working tirelessly over these past few years, I believe on Tuesdays and Fridays, loading up a Salvation Army van and driving around. Bill and Debbi, tell me first how you first became aware of the issue and why you got involved.
Okay. I guess when we first got aware of the issue, I'm just going to backtrack just a little bit here. I went to seminary in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And while I was there, I kind of got to know the homeless culture pretty well, worked with different agencies there and different ministries there, kind of getting to know the needs and it's, it's a subculture basically. So I got to know them there, and then we moved here, and here, it probably isn't quite as prevalent in this area out in here in Des Plaines. And so I started working with the Salvation Army here, and I was doing bell ringing. A lot of people don't realize that like 70% of our bell ringers are actually homeless. And so just getting to know the guys and ladies. And the Salvation Army, we actually pay our bell ringers. The ones that aren't volunteers anyways, we pay them and basically help them get back on their feet, earn a little bit of money for Christmas, job experience. So I was talking with them while I was ringing with them, and asking them, what are you going to do when the season's done? And they started, telling me what they're going to do, which is hang out in the library or the train station, or a lot of them slept outside. And so I guess that's when we realized that there's a huge need here, just like in Sioux Falls.
That's tremendous. Thank you, Bill. And you've called this as part of your ministry. I know that this is a very regular routine. It takes some very, very good people to dedicate so much of their time on a weekly basis to this effort. So, Debbie, you've met a lot of interesting people along the way. And I think you've described it in the past that that every individual and every story is unique. So on this week it's very, very cold outside. Tell us, the inspiration that's going on, and tell us a little bit about the numbers and the impact that you've been having.
Well, this week, for instance, we were at one location and we met a man who his car had broken down. He recently lost his apartment, and so he's living in his car, but that particular day his car wouldn't start, so he was not able to make it to his job. And he said, he came to our van at the one of our spots that we always go to on Tuesday, and so would you by chance have a blanket? And I said, oh, do we have a blanket? We have wonderful blankets that have been donated and made for us and donated to our ministry. And that just made his day. He had tears in his eyes, and he said, you have no idea how much this means to me. And it's exactly what he needed at that moment. And just to be able to meet those needs, it's just neat. All of our supplies, most of our supplies are donated by various churches and individuals, and it's just really neat how everyone comes together and God just provides.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I know you're talking a little bit about the Salvation Army van, that loaded up van that you're helping so many people with. So many of the supplies, as Debbie just mentioned, donated by companies, individuals, ministries. Quite impressive. And what about when you meet somebody that maybe they need a little bit more than food or a little bit more than a blanket? What if they need some more stable housing? How does the rest of the Salvation Army resources sort of mesh into the strategy? What are you able to do for those individuals?
Well, there's a couple things. I'm also director of a jobs program. We're at at our office in Salvation Army. So we work with employers, looking for employees, and also work with people looking for jobs. And so, it's kind of a process. Something I usually explain to the guys, it's a little bit easier in the summer if somebody's homeless. I explained to them the first step is getting employment or getting money coming in. Without that, there's very, very limited shelters, or during the summer there's no shelters in the suburbs. And so there's very limited housing resources if you don't have an income. Once they start getting a paycheck, they always tell me, Bill, how can I work if I can't shower? And that's kind of a valid point, because you want to be cleaned up when you go to work.
Cycle.
So I explained to them, well, we'll get you the first month gym membership. You can go to the gym and shower, and then you can go to work cleaned up. Catholic Charities, Cross and Crown Lutheran Church, there's a lot of places they can get clothing for work. And so then they can be cleaned up, if they can get a job, start going to work, still stay sleeping in the tent or sleeping outside if you have to, get a paycheck, then you can hopefully move up and get into a hotel room or something. And once they have stable income, we have a social worker at the Salvation Army here in Des Plaines. We're able to help them out with, rental assistance, and, they have to find the apartment on their own, but we're able to help them out with, with getting into the apartment. So, with some down payments and first month rent, that kind of stuff. So.
An incredible one-stop resource, and it's thanks to amazing people like you. And coming up on the program, we are going to be talking with the Assistant Director of Development for the Salvation Army Metropolitan Division, which serves the greater Chicago area, northern Illinois, northwestern Indiana. The need is great, and it's thanks to people like you that so many people are being helped. And we're going to talk in just a few moments about ways that our listeners, this is why we're bringing this up, that other folks can step up and get involved. But Bill and Debbi, I believe the number is thousands of meals have been distributed. So many people have been helped thanks to the work that you're doing. Do you have any last closing message for our listeners and about ways that they can step up to get involved?
I think it's just good to be aware of those around you, and if you see a need and it's something that you can help with, offer kindness, offer a smile, do what you can and make a difference.
Well, we need good people like you to inspire the rest of us. We're going to be right back on Get Down to Business coming up after this very quick break. Thanks, Bill and Debbi.
How can you get from here